Okay, that's all right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you here to the scorching weather of London. My presentation is about the voice in exile, the freedom of expression, Kurdish asylum seekers, and the role of media reform. In this presentation, okay, I'm doing my best to raise my voice. Thank you. Then, okay, no problem. Thank you. The Kurdish population, estimated around 30 million people, spread across different states, including Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Iraq. Most of the Kurdish individuals, unfortunately, they have to leave their own country because of different reasons, namely discrimination to their rights, no matter if it's cultural, ethical, and political right. Therefore, they are seeking asylum in different European countries, including the UK. So the aim of my presentation is to combine the relationship between democratic media system and human rights implication. If you move to the next slide. Thank you. So my study based on a legal framework, which is the obligation of the United Kingdom towards asylum seekers, and these rights include the United Nations Refugee Convention of 1951, also the European Convention of Human Rights, and also so many other case laws and legislations which are emerged in this background. So this study particularly depends on Article 10 of the Human Rights Convention, which is the freedom of expression, also Article 3, which consists of prohibition of torture and inhuman or degrading behavior, and also the principle of non-refoulement. So freedom of expression in exile. The key concept that we can see nowadays in many asylum claims, it's a surplus refugee claim, which means that an individual left their own country and they are residing, let's say, in the UK background, based on the fact that they are involved in political activities nowadays in this background. And the examples of these include participation in demonstrations, being a member of Kurdish political or cultural organizations, and making publications on social media or being active through them, and also criticism of the state authorities. So this fact has two limbs. The first one is the individuals at the same time, while they are expressing their own right, which is the right of freedom of expression, at the same point they are facing risks. Why? Because upon their return, they may face serious concerns by the authorities of their country of origins for being vocal. So digital activism, digital technology nowadays have transformed the asylum adjudication. That's because social media became a very public and big platform which created opportunity for political expression, but also permanent record of their activism. So government, thank you. Government increasingly monitor Facebook activities, social media in general, including Facebook, X, Instagram, and also their online publication and broadcasts. Even though the individuals are in low level, their activities in low level, they still face concerns and issues upon their return. So if you show me a key challenge here is the political expression in exile, which creates a real risk for the individuals whom they are taking part in political activities. Those examples including publishing articles or being vocal against the government, and also participating in demonstrations, making publications on their own social media, and also giving speech to media channels. All of those activities would create the risk because of the attention of authorities from their countries of origin. So what's the implication of human rights of the individuals while they are returning? The implication is that while returning, because they have engaged in political activity, this would face them a severe punishment upon their return, which includes the risk of arbitrary detention, ill treatment, and also restriction to their freedom, right, especially being vocal and expressing their own views, and also unfair criminal proceedings, and also discrimination based on their ethnicity and political opinion. So freedom of expression and non-refoulement, that's another principle which supports the asylum claims due to the fact that if an individual is expected to face serious risk upon their return to their country of origin just because of criticizing the public, criticizing the authorities, this principle supports the asylum claims and deprives or rejects their return or refoulement to the countries of origin. But the main question is that, should a person be forced to remain silent in exile in order not to make any concern in the future upon their return? Of course, the answer from the human rights law towards that is no. Everyone is entitled to be free and to practice their freedom and to be protected based on this fact. There are so many case laws emerging in this background in the UK, and there are emerging trends towards this case, and it has impacted the judicial decision increasingly. That's because they pay attention to the significance of diaspora activism and also the impact of digital evidence and the need to consider a cumulative risk, which means that while individuals are returning back, there should be an assessment, a severe assessment, in order to decide whether, based on the activities they have taken part here, they're going to face any risks or not. But the main focus remains on the objective of the risk rather than the subjective motivation. What's the role of media reform? Of course, media reform matters in this title, in this subject, because a public narrative influence would have a very big influence on political decision making and also shapes the attitude of public towards migrants, and also for people, they have access to communication platform which allows the marginalized groups to be heard. You may have asked that why I have chose this subject and what's the implication to media reform. Of course, it has a serious and a very outstanding implication to the media reform, because by having an independent media, we can diverse the voice of the minority and make sure that their voices are heard, and also we can participate the strengths of democratic legitimacy, and also ethical reporting reduce the harmful stereotyping. At the end of my presentation, I'd like to show the fact that the experience of Kurdish asylum seekers in the UK shows the relationship of freedom of expression, media representation, and human rights protection. Media reform is not simply about journalism, but it's also about the fact that who gets to speak, whose voices are heard, and whose rights are protected. At the end of my presentation, I've made some suggestions towards the media reform strategic policy roadmap in the next 10 years, including improving understanding of digital surveillance and the risks of return on asylum seekers. And secondly, to support independent journalism that cover human rights, and also to create a good collaboration between media reform and advocates of human rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so